All right, Dr. Now we're expecting the rates to start coming down. When the rates come down, what does that indicate economically speaking?
The rates coming down is good news to business people because it means that money is going to be available in terms of the general economy, because whenever the rates go up, it crowds the market. You are taking money from people and giving to the government, so the money supply gets lower in the economy. So when the rates come down, it will be good news to them. It also mean that probably in the near future, the interest rates will also come down for borrowing rates. So that will actually mean that the more money will be there. If the rates comes down, then it means that the economy will be spurred up. That is actually the thing when we see the rates come down. Although there is very little to still celebrate there, because we simply have 16 to 15%. Again, also, whenever we rely on more of domestic funding, as the governor puts it, it actually becomes very difficult for the people within the economy, because it means that there is little that can happen because all the money is mopped up and taken to the government, so people have little money that is flowing.
All right.
Yeah.
Definitely. One of the rates that were really alarming, Ken, it was touching on the bonds, hitting almost close to 18. And everyone was like, what exactly is going on here? So help us understand, first of all, how do we get rates hitting 18%? Is it an issue of government desperation, needing money? And everyone coming into the market. And now, looking at these projections, is it true that the rates have peaked, and are they starting to come down?
Thank you, Noah. The way we got here was because we were running huge fiscal deficits. First of all, our tax policy doesn't work very well, so it doesn't generate enough revenue for the government. And number two, the government has significant expenditures, which it has committed to. And because of that deficit, government has to keep borrowing, and that's the reason interest rates have been reaching those dizzying levels of 18%. Now, what you're being told is now interest rates have peaked and they're coming down, but we're not really getting into a solution, because what we really wanted to hear is we have a new tax policy that is helping Kenyans raise more revenue without destabilizing the economy. And also we are being prudent about expenditure. Some of these things we are offloading to the counties, to the private sector. So we don't need to run huge deficits. That's the message we were expecting. What we are being told is we're just moving our borrowers from domestic borrowers to external borrowers. And for me, that's actually quite worrying, because external debt is very sensitive to to exchange rate risk.
Yes.
One of the reasons our debt is so high is because last year we saw the dollar really, really moving up. And as an institution, you want to reduce your external debt because of that exposure. So it's good that we are seeing interest rates coming down, but the fundamentals are not correct. It's not the government has come up with a good tax policy. The government now is prudent on expenditure, and it's less, just more of government saying we need to get away from domestic financing, but for the same amount of money, we'll get it from external donors, which exposes us, because who says the dollar will not go back to 160, 170? So for me, it's we are sort of curing the surface, but we are not fixing the underlying issue of how do we get a good fiscal policy for this country.
Yeah, and looking at that paper, I think it was the 90-day paper, they were asking for close to 4B. The rates, the bids came to 16, and they picked around there 16. I mean, from when you look at that, you've got to the market, you are saying for 4 billion. People bring you 16 billion. And you're like, yeah, thank you for bringing this 16. I'm going to pick it up. What does that, how do you interpret that?
The appetite for debt is something that just like Kenny's saying, is something that we need to tame a bit, because people, when they look at you and they see that you can give them something, they want to take more. They want to give you more. And as you get the more, you can bite more than you can chew. So the appetite is something that needs to be watched. Because again, when you do that, unless you are very sure in terms of the changes, but the foreign market is actually changing, turbulent each and every time it moves, and it can take any direction, because the macroeconomic fundamentals that are worldwide have a lot of volatility. There are things that you cannot control within.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's quite interesting. Ken, when you see that, because 91-day paper, they were actually, the amount offered was 4. The bids received 16, and the government accepted the 16 billion. The 182, that was close because the amount offered was 10. The bids gotten 10 and accepted 10. But again, the 364-day paper, the amount offered was 10. They accepted, the bids came to 19, and the government took 18 billion. Again, is there a level of, does that reflect fiscal discipline?
Absolutely not. Actually, it shows a lack of discipline, but even more profoundly, it distorts the markets. And sometimes people don't understand that distorting effect quite well. And I think the example I like to use is thinking of an apartment building. Assuming a developer has put up an apartment building with about 100 units and wants to test the value of 1 unit. So he invites bids from Noah, invites bids from Prof, and from Ken for just 1 apartment. So Noah bids 10 million, Prof bids 9 million, I bid 8 million. So of course, since you're the highest bidder, that apartment goes to you for that 10 million. But before Prof and I go home, he comes and tells us, you guys already had good money. Instead of you guys going home with that money, let me take your 9 million and let me take my 8 million. So if you now do an average of the 10 million, the 9 million, the 8 million, what is your average? It's 9 million. So if people came the next day and asked, what is the cost of an apartment here? They'd say it's about 9 million, but you paid a significant amount. So it creates a distorting effect. And that's why when you go to borrow, you have to be very precise. This is what we are coming to do. And it gives people confidence.
Yes.
Otherwise, you distort the price, and everybody who comes after that pays a distorted price based on that. So it's back to fiscal discipline, which is something that has been the theme.
Wow. Our ladies and gentlemen, here's where we go drum rolls. Because we are going global now. Yeah? We want to go